Hi, this is Laura Rosenthal. I'm the Bureau Director for the Bureau of Residential Healthcare Reimbursement. Can somebody flag or shoot a note quickly to indicate that they can hear me? I just was talking and realized that it was not connecting. So hopefully somebody can hear me now. I'm seeing some hands up, so I'm grateful that now we are connected. I do apologize for the glitch in that, and thank you for everybody's patience. So what we wanted to do today is go ahead and start the process of reintroducing the nursing home MDS Census Collection process. This is going to be the July 2019 MDS Census Collection, and that is the information that will be used to inform the January 1, 2020 rates. We will be providing information today on the enhancements that have been made to the collection process. We are hopeful that these enhancements will help simplify the process as well as help streamline things so that folks are able to more quickly and fastly move forward with the inputs that are required in order to do the census collection. We do recognize that everybody has been dealing with extreme situation as we are all working through the challenges that are posed by the pandemic. And we are very appreciative of all of the hard work and effort that everyone has put forward to help New York State move from the extreme situation that we were in into a period in which we are now slowly moving forward with opening. And in light of that, we are now moving forward with some of the, quote, business as usual components of our job, in addition to continuing to support all of the efforts associated with the pandemic. So one of those things that we wanted to begin moving forward with is the new census collection. And so that is why we are doing the series of 2 presentations today, one this morning and then one this afternoon. And if you are participating in this morning's, we ask that you not participate in the afternoon session so that we are able to have sufficient bandwidth for everyone to participate in either one session or the other. So thank you for your following of that. Additionally, we do have the ability to have Q&As. If you notice on your screen, there is an opportunity, an option to input a Q&A, and we will do our best to either answer those questions as we're moving forward through here, or we will be providing an FAQ document after the fact. So if we do not get to your question during this initial discussion here, do not be concerned that it won't be answered. We will make sure that all issues are addressed and are shared. So we definitely will make sure that you are heard. And thank you very much for that. So we can go ahead, I think, and move forward. Everyone is muted, by the way, aside from the panelists. So there is not the ability to verbally ask a question. We ask that you type those questions into the Q&A module in your screen. So we can go forward a slide now. So our agenda today, so just a high level, we'll be going through how you did your previous collections, so kind of a refresher in terms of this is the process that you will be familiar with, and then we will share with you the enhancements that we have established for the July 2019 census collection, as well as the timeline associated with this collection. We will then be providing instructions for how to see or view and then match the HCS file. So this will be your opportunity to see the step-by-step instructions, and then how you check the data. So how you will check the information as you're moving forward. And then finally, we'll be providing what the benefits are to you. We believe that this new process is going to really change the way that we deal with these collections. The process itself, in terms of how we use the data, will not be changed, but the process of collecting will be changing so that we can make things hopefully a lot easier for you as well as for us. And then finally, we'll have an appendix with some additional screenshots and things like that so that you'll be able to see the information. We will also be capturing this slideshow and this presentation, and it will be available for folks to view again in the future. So if you are interested after you see it in refreshing and getting additional information, you will be able to. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over, and we will walk through what was done in previous collections.
Good morning. Beginning in 2009, the Department of Health moved to the MDS from the old PRI. The process required facilities to collect their census data in an Excel file and then convert it to a DOH file in order to do a file upload. Next screen. Providers had been required to upload and match all census data before they were able to see what data the Department of Health had that we would be using for reimbursement. This process could cause delays in that facilities had to set up their own files, then they had to go through the converter software, then they had to upload the data, and only then would they know that there was anything missing. They'd have to have a successful upload to be able to identify any residents that were missing. Next screen. With the July 2019 census collection, a new process which eliminates completely the census upload is being rolled out. Next screen. The census collection has been enhanced to remove the data upload, so there'll be no more Excel files, there'll be no more converter software, there'll be no more .doh files, and there'll be no more data uploads that'll be necessary on the part of the facilities. It should be noted, however, that there is absolutely no change to the case mix index calculation or the method that the department is using to upload the data, or score the data, I should say. Next screen.
Here we will look at what's new in the enhanced process. Providers now will be able to make changes to the residence pair source, specialty indicator, dementia, BMI, and TBI indicators at the same time they are matching each resident. You also have the option to make these changes and save the file prior to matching. After you save the file, you will be able to go back to complete the matching process at a later time if you so choose. You will be able to match each resident on the HCS by selecting each resident by clicking a checkbox, eliminating the need to upload a file. This will be explained further as the webinar progresses. It is very important that you verify that the data on the HCS is complete prior to matching. You must verify that all residents listed on your census list are listed on the HCS. If there are missing residents, you must submit the missing residents' MDS data to CMS within the allotted time frame. We will discuss timeline on the next 2 slides. Starting today, June 17th through June 28th, 2020, providers will be able to review the DOH HCS file to ensure that it is complete and also submit any missing MDS to CMS during this period. It is very important to note that if after reviewing your file, you realize that your file is complete and there are no missing residents, you may proceed with matching as there would be nothing preventing you from matching at this point. On July 1st, 2020, we will extract the newly submitted MDS data from CMS. And on July 2nd, 2020, we will update the HCS file to add this new data. In previous collections, we would add a default record to facilitate you matching. Have you sent the missing data to CMS, then towards the end of the collection process, we would re-extract from CMS and replace the default records with the newly extracted MDS data. As you can see, this step has been moved from the back end to the front end. Next slide. For 2 weeks, beginning July 3rd through July 17, 2020, providers should review the updated HCS file, select and match the residents included in their census. As is the norm, ROG scores will become visible after matching. If the ARD selected is not the closest to the census date and you need to request an ARD change, please contact us to do so. There's an email address that will be forthcoming. You can also continue updating the records after you've matched. Certifications are due on July 24, 2020. We are aware of the system-generated message after you've matched that says you have 7 days to certify. For that message to be applicable, you must have matched at least 7 days prior to July 24th. The certification due date of July 24th, 2020 supersedes the system-generated message. Next slide.
And here we'll get into the changes the department has made to hopefully make the upcoming collection a lot easier on both the nursing homes and DOH staff. The collection will start off in much the same way as our previous collections. We'll log into the Health Commerce System or the HCS and choose the MDS for NF reimbursement application. What's inside the MDS application, we'll click on the View Match MDS Census Records link and proceed in much the same way as during previous collections. If you participated in any of the previous MDS collections, this should look familiar to you. Once you get into the application, this is the screen that will show up. As you'll notice next to the red arrow, this is the link we will click on to proceed. This link used to say View Update MDS Census Roster, and you'll notice now that it says View Match MDS Census Records. Once we click this link, you'll be asked to choose your facility. If you only work for a single nursing home, you should see that home listed in the following drop-down box. If you work for a firm that does case mix for a number of homes, you will need to choose the appropriate home from the drop-down box. If you don't see any homes listed, or if the correct home is not being displayed, chances are you will need your permissions updated. If that's the case, please contact us at the department and we can address those permission issues. Once you choose your facility, it'll bring you to this page. Your facility name will be listed up top, followed by the collection period. In this slide, it says 2019-1, but when you log in to the current application, it'll say 2019-2. Below that is a new feature where it says resident count. This number should represent the number of unique residents that your facility has filed a ruggable MDS on during the look-back period. So this number should be higher than the number of residents that were in your facility on the census date. So for example, if you work at a 150-bed nursing home, the number displayed here should be higher than 150. But by the same token, if you work at a 150-bed nursing home and the number displayed here is less than 150. Chances are there's an issue and a number of assessments had not been accepted by CMS. Either way, this is just a quick reference to let you know how many residents the department has on file with the ruggable MDS during the look-back window. From here, you will click on the View Match Residents button, and that will bring you to the next screen. This will open a file we have on your facility. You'll be able to see all of the residents that have a ruggable MDS during the look-back period, along with some relevant data for those residents. Once you can see your facility's data, the main goal during the first 2 weeks is to ensure that all of your residents are listed. As you're going through and selecting the residents you want to match, if you notice any residents that are not showing up, this is when we want you to verify that they had a ruggable assessment submitted to CMS. If there is no ruggable assessment for a given resident, then you can contact the department and we will add in a blank record for those residents as we have done in the past. Once you have verified that this roster contains all the residents that were in your home on the census date, you can use the following screen to match your residents as well as update the Section S items like payer source and the dementia and BMI indicators. And this is what your facility's file will look like. All of your residents will be listed here, and as you can see, there are drop-down boxes for the Section S items, as well as that new match column at the end. So now there is no need to generate a .doh file and then attempt to upload that file. And as you're all probably aware, sometimes it could take days to or even longer to hear back from DOH staff. So now you can scroll down this file, check each of the residents that were in your facility on the census date, and change any resident data shown all in one step. If you work for a larger facility or if you frequently get called away from your computer, there is a Save Changes button as well. So you can begin matching the appropriate residents and making any necessary changes or updates and hit the Save Changes button, and the next time you log in, you can pick up right where you left off. Once you have selected all your residents, there is a Set Facility Match button at the top. This will mark your facility as matched. So while you're selecting your individual residents, you'll only check the box at the end of each row in that match column. But once you've selected everyone in your facility, you can click that Set Facility Match button at the top, and that will complete the matching process. Frank?
As you can see here, I apologize, I had my phone on mute. As you can see here, a facility match message will come up, and then your facility will be able to look at the table, which is very much like the one you've seen in the past, where you'll be able to make final changes to any of the records that are matched. Next screen. This is the screen that will be displayed after you've selected Set Facility Match. This has now locked all these residents in place, and you'll have the normal time period to make your changes to the specialty, the enhanced column, payer, dementia, BMI. And as you're making those changes for each line, you want to be sure to click the Update column. Next screen. On the previous screen, as you can see, you'll be able to make additional changes and then save all of those. Once those changes are saved and you're all set to go, you can submit your certification so that the process can move ahead where we're able to get the data loaded into the rate setting system and move forward with generating the rates. Next. The benefits to the nursing homes is you'll be able to see all of the residents that we had matched prior to finalizing everything. In the past, you had to upload your data and wait to see who was matched and who was not. You'll be able to identify and rectify any missing residents earlier. You can match your records without uploading a census roster. This should help everyone go through the process much more quickly, which should also mean generating rates more quickly. Next.
Okay, so this section is really the appendix, and it seems as though the title page has been deleted, but this section is the appendix. So there are some recurring issues that occurs with every collection. We have listed a few. The first bullet, changing resident information in a matched file. This could be a request to correct the spelling of a name or to correct the social security number or the date of birth of residents. We are not able to process such requests simply because we are not able to manipulate CMS data to make edits. It is incumbent on the provider to ensure that the correct information is sent to CMS. Requests for ARD changes, adding or removing a resident from a matched file, or making changes to a finalized file are all requests that we can and will process if you contact us at the email address listed below. That email address is mdsbrhcr@health.ny.gov. Some communication will require a secure transfer. Therefore, we have provided information on how to send a secure file on the next slide. To send a secure file, log into the HCS. Under My Applications, select Secure File Transfer 2.0. Select Launch Secure File Transfer 2.0. Select Send a Package. In the To field, enter BLTCR MDS group unless you have been instructed to send a file directly to myself, Connor, or Frank, in which case you would enter our email address. Complete the subject line, describe the issue and/or attach a file, then click Send. After you've sent the file, you will receive notification once the secure message has been opened. Next slide.
If there are any questions about the presentation or what we're moving forward with the new process, you can type those questions into the question and answer box, and we can take a look and see what ones we can answer right now. We will be collecting all of the questions and creating a Q&A document after both of the presentations are done today.
So one of the questions that's being asked that we've seen repeatedly is whether or not we can get a printout of the presentation or where the slides would be made available. Can we share where the slides will be after these presentations are done? Or where the presentation will be available?
We will make the presentation available on the Health Commerce system where the facilities usually go to upload the data. We will also put it out on the department's generic website. We'll provide that information to all who've registered for the presentation.
One of the other questions I'm seeing is, can BMI and dementia be changed before and after the match? And the answer to that question is yes. While you're going through your facilities roster and selecting the residents that you wish to match, if you are updating any of the Section S items as you go, when you click Save Changes or when you click Set Facility Match, any of those updates that you had made will carry through into your finalized roster. So I guess it's really up to the facilities. If you'd rather make those updates while you're selecting the residents and do everything at once, you can do it that way. Or if you'd rather just match your residents at first, and then once you get the match status, go through and do the updates later, you can do it that way as well. But either way, you are able to do it both before and after you match.
We have a question on where can I locate guidance for add-ons, dementia, and BMI. It is difficult to find this criteria. For the BMI, the resident must have a body mass index greater than 35. If the resident's BMI is greater than 35, they would qualify for the add-on. As for the dementia, if you have a dementia diagnosis or if your resident qualifies under specific criteria that were set forth in legislation, that resident would also qualify for the dementia add-on. When we're posting the answers to the questions here, we'll make sure that those two items are specifically lined out.
There is a question, when will the HCS be updated to show 2019-2? I believe the HCS will be updated today. So the collection process will open today. There is another question. If we have questions at a later date, who may we contact? So if you have questions after we've ended the presentation, you can send your questions to the MDS mailbox. The email address is mdsbrhr@health.ny.gov.
We also have a question, is there only one MDS per resident that will be calculated? Yes, there should only ever be one MDS per residence that's calculated and used in the reimbursement process.
There is a question, why would the resident count be higher than the number of residents? The count listed on the HCS could be higher because throughout the look-back period, there have been residents that were in the facility that are no longer in the facility on the census. So those residents would not be a part of your census. Hence, your census list and the resident listed on the HCS could be different.
I've also seen a few questions regarding resident-specific data and like, what if my resident doesn't have a social, or what if it's incorrect? And much in the same fashion as before, when you log into your facilities file, that initial file where you can go through and select which residents to match, the data being displayed on that page is the same data that was submitted to CMS. If a resident does not have a social security number, then you should see that resident's data just without the social. So if he or she still shows up, you will still be able to select that resident as being a part of your census, regardless of whether or not their social exists or even if it's accurate. So if John Doe shows up without a social, you can still select him as being a part of your census. So that Social Security number issue no longer comes into play. In the past, if a resident didn't have a social, we'd have to try different tricks in order to generate that DOH file without a social. Sometimes it was a certain symbol, sometimes it was just a blank space, but now that's no longer necessary. As long as you see the resident listed on your facility's file, you can select them and match them.
There is a question. The resident list only contains residents in the facility on the picture date. And then they wanted to know if that is correct. That is not correct. Well, your list that you have created for your census should only have residents that were in the facility on the census date. However, the HCS list will contain all residents that has been in your facility for the look back period. So for the past 92 days prior to the census date. So I think that date is April 30th. So all residents that were in your facility from April 30th through when we did the extraction, once you had submitted an MDS to CMS for them, there would be a record for them. And that is, like I explained earlier, that is why the number listed on the HCS for census count would be different than the number that you are expecting. So it is your responsibility now to go through and check off only the residents that should be included in the census date.
So there will be some additional residents to look through. When you log in, expect to see residents listed that were not in your facility on the census date, and that's okay. It just means that there was, like Michelle said, it just means that there was an MDS filed on them during this period of time. We're not inferring that these residents should be on your census. We know that there are going to be folks that are not selected, but hopefully the residents that were in your facility on the census date are shown. But don't be worried if you see residents that weren't in there. It just means that there was a ruggable assessment filed during the period.
We have a question that says, will the resident listing be printable for review? I will have to look into that, but we will work to ensure that you can print things out as you can right now in the MDS process. Another question says, if we discover any MDS has not been transmitted to CMS yet, can we transmit it now? Yes, if there are, this is part of the process that Michelle had discussed. If there is data that's missing when you go onto the MDS or onto the HCS right now, you would want to make sure that you send that data to CMS so that when the department does a re-extraction, we capture everyone for which there should be an MDS. Another question says, we check all in-house regardless of payer. Yes. You would just, the Medicaid only are the ones that are going to be driving the case mix. However, we do request that all residents that are in the facility on the census date be checked and matched. Just reading through the questions.
Well, I see one person give us a woo-woo for the new process, thinking it will be much easier. That is certainly our hope.
Are we still using the most recent MDS for the calculation? Yes, we would use the most recent MDS, the latest one before the census date, unless you have a new admission.
There is a question, are we still using RUGS 3 for the CMI calculation? The answer is yes.
If a resident has more than one assessment during the period, which ruggable assessment should be included? The latest ARD, it is the one closest to the census date without passing the census date.
Okay, I think that we are all pretty much caught up on the vast majority of questions at this point. As we did say, we will be providing an FAQ so that folks are able to see those questions. We will also be making sure that this presentation is available on the HCS. So you will be able to go back through and also hear the presentation or see the presentation and then check those FAQs if there's any questions that we did not get to as we were trying to scan through them quickly. We do, as always, appreciate everyone taking the time to meet with us today. And as stated previously, if there are further questions, please don't hesitate to send them into that MDS mailbox that Michelle had provided earlier in the presentation. We will be happy to assist in any way that we can as folks work through this new process. And we are keeping our fingers crossed that everything will be more smooth, more simple, more streamlined, so that you will all be able to quickly and efficiently work through this process going forward. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for all of your efforts, and we look forward to hearing from you. Take care. Be well, everyone. And that concludes our presentation for the day.